Good afternoon and welcome to Mavericks and Mimosa. Folks, this is our first podcast, me and Jolene.
And just to clarify, mimosas as the flower.
Absolutely. It's such a great privilege here to be with my very, very good and soul friend, Jolene. We are live here from Dubai on this very hot Friday, but I think it's more hot because we are here, isn't it, Jolene?
Charles, can you believe we're here? We have been talking about doing a podcast for so long. So, think 15 years ago when you and I met, did you ever in your wildest dreams think that we would be here? And of all things, talking about how we have evolved in our lives from being so conventional to unconventional and what that actually means for us. It's crazy, right?
It's absolutely, 15 years, sounds like a long time.
It is.
But we've learned so much in a decade and a half. And you're right. So we have absolutely been privileged and blessed to actually have a journey together. And that means for me that this to me is like a diary, isn't it? How do we feel today, where we have come from together as well. So for me, the need to actually have this as a journal, right? Audio journal, which shows that people can be successful and very, very unconventional. Don't you agree?
I think it's amazing, Charles. And I think, maybe as a starting point, we should just share, who we are, where have we come from, and maybe have a bit of a disclaimer. Like, we are by no means
Absolutely
professional psychologists who are going to help you. We are just, ordinary but extraordinary people who can maybe just, share some of our life journey that can maybe inspire you or just change, your path that you're on at the moment. So, Charlotte, I don't know if you want me to go or tell us who you are.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I agree. It's just us telling our story and allow people and listeners to kind of get an understanding of us as normal people. We are by no means experts, like you say, but we feel a real desire and need to kind of just allow people to be themselves and to kind of not follow the norms. So very briefly, who am I? I'm a very young and dynamic and successful accountant or finance business partner that came through a very traditional routine kind of pathway. And then life happens, right? And I thought, let me kind of just become more true to myself and find my true north. And that's really, Jolene, takes courage, right?
It does.
To kind of fight the norms, right?
It really does.
So I found myself here in Dubai. It's now been almost 3 years to the exact date, right? And me and Jolene also, this all was unplanned, right?
So
right? And literally, after 3-4 months,
we
whatever Jolene does, I do, but I'm not following. It just happens.
It just happens,
right?
It's a soul friendship.
Absolutely.
It is.
So, you, Jolene, give us some background about you. Who are you?
Who am I? So I am 35. And if I could wink and I was able to wink, I would wink right now. However, I think God knew what he was doing when he made sure that I couldn't wink because I think it's so hot and I would just be annoying. So he
Touché.
Touché, so he was in his plan. But very similarly, growing up in South Africa, I lived a very normal, if you want to call it that. For me, it was very normal. Growing up with a single mom and just trying to do the absolute best, always, you need to make sure you have a good career and you need to study and you need to do all of these things and you need to get married and then you need to have kids, which is basically, God bless my mom. It's not anything against her, but it's kind of how society has dictated to us how our lives should be, right? And, growing up, I was like, that's the path I want to go down. South African girl growing up in the west part of Johannesburg for most of her life until 3-4 years ago, made the decision to move to Dubai and, just embrace it. And I haven't looked back once since then. So hasn't been easy, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
But, it definitely has been an amazing journey thus far.
But you've surely made an impact on so many lives. Whether it's personal or through friendships or colleagues. And that's also why we want to do this. It's a mini life shift. And we want to, me personally want to say thank you to the support I've had from family and friends. And again, for me, like you say, small town guy from a small mine town, finding myself in this international space, which I always knew from a very young age that's where I will be.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's about how to shift your mindset, but how do you balance being very authentic to yourself and fighting and tackling the norms of society? Because we come from a very rules-based background, don't we?
And why do you think it is that we follow rules? Like, why do you think, what dictates that? So, I mean, if I have to think back and I look at to be honest, I love a rule, right? I absolutely love a rule because I am very black and white. There's no in between. So if you come to me and say, Jolene, the speed limit is 80,
Yeah.
I'll be like, cool, it's 8, because then there's no ambiguity, right?
It's clear cut, yeah.
It's clear cut. I love a rule, but when you're like, oh, it's between the ranges of it, it baffles me a little bit. But what I don't like is what the society dictates, the rules around how you should live your life. And, that generally comes from family upbringing. It comes from churches. It comes from school. It comes from a lot of things, that this is how you should be as an individual. And, I'd love to hear how you find it, if you kind of found something similar, and that's kind of how and why rules are actually derived around how we live our lives.
It's true. It's like the song, we don't need no education, but we do, right? And I'm also very rules-based. And I think, and to answer your question about where it comes from, is that I don't love a rule, but I appreciate a rule more so.
Love a rule.
Really? Do you?
I do, because there's no ambiguity.
I've driven with you a few times, and we don't always abide by the speed rules, don't do we, Jodine? No, for me also it's a matter of a rule versus a principle. Is driven by fear or, I guess, doubt, isn't it?
Yes.
Why do we have rules? Is to instill fear in people and society to do the right thing, supposedly, right? But who makes the rules? So there's my big question mark, right? And then if you talk about the principle, I want to be led by a life that's led by principle, which you can only find when you dig very deep for the gold. And the gold is the pure you.
Yeah.
And my entire career, my entire young teenage life was driven by rules-based. I mean, head boy, pure A student.
Oh, yes,
absolutely.
You were head boy, huh?
Absolutely.
Even when we first started working together, everybody was like, Sean is
Yes.
the head boy of the company.
Correct. But that ultimately puts so much pressure on yourself to be that perfect picture, right?
Correct.
That you lose yourself. And then you tend to forget about your principles.
Yeah.
And at some point, here comes a rock, it bowls you over, and life happens.
Yeah.
So then you are bound to kind of, look into yourself.
But I think there's also the element of, you don't know any better. So growing up, you join school, you live by your parents' history, how they did things, your grandparents, you start a job, it's how they try and define you as who you need to be as a person. You go to church, they're this is who you need to be. You go to school, this is who you need to be. But then at some point in time, you're this doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like me. I know I know you personally, I know a lot that you have gone through, and there's been some point in your life where you've seen a fundamental shift in yes, there was all of this that I grew up with, but my experiences and what I have learned over time has actually made me switch to the more unconventional. So do you, and I mean, of course, if you want to explain, at what point in time did you realize that actually this doesn't feel right for me? It's not my authentic self, and I'm actually transitioning. And by the way, disclaimer as well, and I know you feel the same way.
Yeah.
We do not have everything figured out, right?
Of course not.
We are on this journey, and we are
Yes.
still learning. And it's every day is a new journey, and we're learning so much more about ourselves. But up until this point, where do you think that fundamental shift was for you?
No, great question. I think ultimately for me, it was all gradual. But there's one point in my life where I can really remember. And this is funny because people don't know this about me, but I was about 4 or 5 years old. Literally a very young kid riding my bicycle in our front yard in this very small Mining
I
town.
didn't even know this about you, that you could ride a bicycle.
I know. And thank you to my auntie Anneline, who actually taught me. Yes. Please subscribe to my podcast, Anneline. Anyway, and it's a moment in time where people don't normally remember the primary phase of your life. Right?
Yeah.
If I ask you, what have you done when you were 3 years old? You can't say. But this very moment is like, okay, I'm 5 years old, not going to school yet, when I just had this moment of, okay, I am in this small town, but what's out there? Curiosity. And I'm like, I'm so blessed. So I have the ability to understand how to appreciate being blessed. And I knew at that point in time that in the next 13 years, I will be studying at a college. And I almost knew exactly what I'm going to study. I had to get out of that small town. At that young age, Aline, understood what it means to be thankful.
Yeah.
Can you believe it?
Yeah.
So that was the starting point of my journey to gradually transform. And I'd never fit the usual transcript or the framework. However, I excelled at it because I learned how to, just fit in. So let me hear about you, if you don't mind sharing your moment of crossing the Rubicon.
Crossing the Rubicon. So I think mine was more along the lines of, and I'm going to talk about my mom a little bit, and bless her soul, because she is an amazing woman and she has done her absolute best as a single mom.
Oh,
to
she
raise
has,
my sister and
absolutely,
I.
yes.
And knowing that she did it on her own and she was a full-time working mom, her whole life was devoted to myself and my sister. So, I felt growing up there was a lot of pressure to be perfect, right? Because my mom had, in a way, put us on a pedestal because she's like, I'm so proud of my daughters. They do so amazing. They do all these things. But that's just kind of to illustrate. And, I used to take things so seriously and I used to take things to heart so much that it used to eat me alive. That I have to be married and I have to have kids and I have to have the perfect job and I have to be successful and I have to be all of these things, where it got to the point where I was tolerating a lot because this is what I needed to be. And I think over the last 2 years, I have very quickly realized that it doesn't matter whether you conform to the norm or whether you don't. You are going to be judged by many, many, many people. So the best thing you can do is live your life that you want to live, because people are going to judge you anyway. The second part is just make sure that you wake up every day with kindness and do the best that you can, right? It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So I think that's been my transformation journey, more so over the last 2 years, because people have criticized me on many fronts, right? Oh, your appearance, so you must be this. Or,
Yes.
oh, your personality, you must be this. And what is so bizarre is that people don't actually realize I'm very introverted. So it just goes to show that people will make an assumption about you either way. So live your authentic life as much as you can. And for me, that's been the journey. No, not yet, because I still do in certain instances care a lot what people think, right? But I'm trying to move away from that. So that's kind of like the journey that I'm on. And I'm like, if this is who I feel I am, then live this best life that you possibly can. It doesn't matter what society says to you or dictates. It's like the true example of people say, when I was single, oh, when are you getting a boyfriend?
Yeah.
You get a boyfriend, it's like, when are you getting engaged? You get engaged. And then it's like, when are you getting married? And then you get married. And then it's like, when are you having a kid? And then you have a kid. And you're like, okay, I don't have kids and all of that, but that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of the shift that's happened for me and is happening for me at this point in time. You live one life. You do not get a second go. So live it to the best that you can and that you want to.
It makes perfect sense. I think it's a matter of also not putting the word unconventional in a bad light.
No.
But to kind of just, go out there and not allow people, opinions, perspectives, or a rules-based society,
No,
right?
Exactly.
And it takes time to unravel that. And it also takes time to really kind of understand that rather have an opinion about yourself.
Yeah.
That weighs much stronger compared to what a stranger or a work colleague or whoever might have of you, right?
Yeah.
I think also I'm not an expert on neuroscience, but I've read it. This has been something that I've found quite interesting, is that when you have free will and essentially when you make a choice, or you are in a group of friends or a group of work colleagues, the nervous system in your body will tell you and guide you actually how you're feeling.
Yeah.
So do you feel comfortable? I mean, you get good stress, you get bad stress, the way you act, the way your body appears, right? It tells you exactly how you're feeling,
Yeah.
okay? And by gosh, I mean, I told you earlier this afternoon that I had no idea by the age of 25 what the hell an emotion is, right? So all this is super complicated and interlinked. That an emotion, your nervous system, neuroscience, that all really is being nurtured by who you are.
Yes.
And so you also should be led by your own feelings and your body. Your body will tell you when something is healthy, bad, good, or a warm feeling and a cold feeling, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But I think what we want to know is that moment in time where you first unpack those emotions. What level was it? Was it just a tear? Or was it like lying in the fetal position, like really letting out years and years of emotion?
Yeah, so I don't really show emotion very well, and you can ask that.
I know.
Exactly. I could be crying and smiling. I could be smiling but crying, right? So no, for me, it's I tend to deal with emotion when I know how to label that.
Yeah.
And I find it very, very tough. And I think many men and male nowadays, I mean, just don't know how to really deal with emotion because we don't know what it is. We can't give it a name.
Yeah.
In our wonderful generation, where we are responsible to combine millennials and Gen Zs. Thank you, world.
What do you mean? I'm still Gen Z.
Of course. I mean, the way you dress, I mean, fantastic, right?
I mean,
Yeah. So I think we had to kind of learn and unlearn. But I had no moment where I was like crying or being sad or whatever. It's just like gradually one morning you just wake up like feeling different. Have you ever had that experience?
I've had moments where I felt like, things have really, really changed for me. Like, I mean, I went to, and it was my first solo trip that I'd ever done. And it gives you a lot of time to think about who you are, introspection, retrospection, where you want to be and all of that. And that was really a defining moment for me. And it put things into perspective for me on a lot of things, which of course, I mean, I'm not going to share today, maybe at a later stage, but it was a very clear defining moment for me. And, I'm a very emotional human being, and maybe that's why we're the yin to the yang, because I will pull up an Instagram video now and I'll be in tears and I'll be crying my eyes out. But I do think it's good to go through those moments. And, I've often felt that by holding back and not being me has held me back in many, 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 many situations.
Oh, amen.
I mean, I don't know if you have any examples of, what it is that has held you back by whatever society has dictated to you, like this is who you should be. And by trying to be that person, you've held back on so many different things.
And those are the juicy tidbits that this podcast really is made for normal people that have this urge to also kind of talk to normal people, right? And to kind of hopefully also relate. And that's really the aim of this podcast, is to kind of just, it's a letter to ourselves, isn't it, Jolene? Where it's an audio letter. And maybe one day when we're 40, we'll look back and we'll listen to this podcast and say, how the hell did I just say that? But also be proud of the moment of growth and understanding that we have to evolve as a species, as a spirit, as a soul.
Yeah.
Not only follow a career progress or some call of IDP. I mean, that's so man-made, right?
It is.
And it sucks. It damn sucks to follow the rules in that regard.
Yeah.
So I had a few of those moments. I've once intentionally declined a promotion in my first job, essentially. I felt not good enough, but also I didn't have a presence in myself. So,
Can we unpack that a little bit?
Thanks.
Do you mind?
Thanks, doctor. Yes, go ahead.
It feels like a very doctor corporate response. Like, can we unpack that a little bit?
Yeah.
But I mean, to turn down a promotion where an organization had seen the potential in you and had the trust in you that you would actually do phenomenally well in this role, you said no because you had felt like this, it doesn't feel like this is me.
Yes.
And I mean, if you look, I mean, I know your career journey and I know like where you started to where you are now and the growth that you've had within the accounting industry and the stuff that you've achieved. Why did you feel that way? Like, what was it that was like holding you back?
It was a defining moment of me understanding that what is best for me for a change, right? So I was trying to not be overly stressed, again, linked to the nervous system. Although I could have done that, I could have seen myself being in hospital, for being burnt out or anxiety at the age of 29, 30, which I was not prepared to take on, right? So very well, it could be to some degree also, it was me being wise for myself.
So it was you actually choosing you, which I think is
absolutely,
which is phenomenal.
Yes,
because it's a strength that not a lot of people have because there's the fear of the unknown. Because a lot of people would have thought, if I don't take this promotion, I'm going to get fired. I'm never going to be considered for another role. And this is exactly to our point. Is like you need to choose you over anything. And if something doesn't feel right, to your point earlier, if it does not sit well with you, you should not choose it. So you didn't choose it because you felt this is going to impact me significantly and 100%. It's going to impact me negatively.
Absolutely.
And then what?
I had, by doing that for myself, I had many people in my work environment actually applauding me for that. Like, wow, how could you do that?
Yeah.
So for me, it unlocked even their perspectives. By doing something unconventional, it actually was something that was a soundboard for so many other people as well. Like, wow. You didn't follow the mold, right?
Yeah.
And by all means, me and you both are blessed. I mean, we have achieved so many things in our lives in that set timeline made by society. We've had our cars, we had our L3 turbos, we had our properties. We've climbed that freaking ladder, right? We went overseas, right? And here we are, not even 40 and kind of bored with life, isn't it? We are damn ready to take it on, just to take it on, isn't it?
I don't know if I'd say bored. I'd just say I'm looking for things which are a little bit different. Like I'm tired of being dictated to about, how I should live my life or I should fit into a certain standard of living and blah, blah, blah. I need to have the car and the house and I need to have the job and I need to have all of these things. But what that comes with is it comes with a huge amount. But often people, and myself included, you are often afraid to take that step because there's so much fear of the unknown and you doubt yourself, right? You're like, oh my gosh. And your friends and your family will tell you, what the hell are you doing? You're leaving your job or you're going to go and like live on an island and sell cocktails with pineapple. And everyone will tell you differently because in one way or the other, like society is kind of like everybody knows your life better than you do.
Absolutely, apparently.
Right. So, but also, to your point, I think it's like you think people are going to judge you based on the decisions that you make. But actually, when you make such decisions about yourself and looking after yourself, people admire it. People admire it because it is not spoken about. It is not shared often enough. And people do not talk to each other. So what you did has probably inspired people on so many fronts that you chose yourself more than anything else.
Absolutely. And I think also it's so true. I mean, because people actually want that kind of, affirmations.
Yeah.
Because they're also way too afraid. And fear is driven by self-doubt.
Correct.
Right? Which is driven by, I feel personally, rules, and an outside perspective, right?
Exactly.
I mean, if you follow principles, then you don't need to tell me to look left or right when I cross the street, right?
No.
It comes natural because you think with your logic brain, right?
Yeah.
You don't need rules for that.
Yeah.
And for me also personally, I mean, my workload and my career is all about compliance and rules.
Yeah.
So with my character, personality, my upbringing, it's all rules-based.
Yeah.
Right? Even for me to do this podcast, essentially, is like out of the blue.
Oh, wow.
But real naturals, obviously.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, so natural.
It is. I mean, if only we had some Moet here with us. Anyway, so I mean, to break free from the rules makes us better.
Yeah.
We can, yeah, just be easy in life, isn't it? I mean, I think we're way too serious also in life.
Yeah.
We're here to live it. I recall at some point where you used the hashtag YOLO a lot. Remember?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of like an old soul, so I was like kind of like fitting into the millennial era. But YOLO is like you only live once, and it's a very interesting topic as well because, I was like, okay, you got to do everything that you want to do, and I still firmly believe like, example, like we've been talking about doing a podcast. Here we are, we're doing it.
Yes.
And we're living the best life that we possibly can. But I still find there's moments in time where I'm holding myself back because I care too much about what somebody else thinks. So think about people in general. What does hold people back? Sitting in a boardroom, I'm too scared to talk up because in case I say something, I look stupid. I don't want to stand up and do a presentation in case I say something and people are going to judge me. Or, oh my goodness, like I met a new social network in Dubai, but I'm holding myself back because, what if I'm not accepted into society? And I think the thing is that we need to move away from really caring about what other people think. Live your true authentic self. It's very difficult, right? It's extremely difficult. And, through understanding this, it's not only about, I'm going to do all the experiences, YOLO, like I'm going bungee jumping and I'm going skydiving and I'm going all these things that I used to do, right? I mean, you were there, you've done them with me, except for the rap jumping, which you didn't do.
And also, for me, no skydiving, I love life enough. Thank you very much.
I know, but it's also, so like living your life is also more than just experiences. It's really about waking up every single day saying, this is who I want to be. For me, if I can wake up and make 2 people smile and sprinkle positivity on their life that day,
absolutely,
I'm so happy, and I can still do the things that I want to do. Because I also never want to be 70 and look back and say, oh, flip, I wish I'd gone jet skiing in the Mediterranean where I was blinded by the salt and whatever the case may be. But, as you evolve in life and you get more familiar with who you are, it becomes more about just experiences, but the impact that you can make on people. Am I going to get it right 100% of the time? No, I'm not. I'm human. I'm going to mess it up sometimes. But if 99% of the time I can do that and I can live the best life I can.
Again, I mean, we want to emphasize, I mean, you're very privileged to have us talking about life in general, but this is how me and Jolene normally talk. I mean,
right?
It is.
Do you remember we were in Beirut? And we had this moment. We were also here in Blue Water Islands, and we had our podcast.
I mean, you can even, I mean,
we have the pictures.
Absolutely.
We have the pictures.
I mean, we had meaningful conversations, and many of those in, all around the world. We're not even lying. Tbilisi, I mean, oh my gosh, that even was just out of this world.
Bodrum.
Bodrum, it's in Turkey for those that don't know about that.
Batroun. In Lebanon.
Zahle, Batroun, I mean, it's crazy. Yukborni, right? So this is normally how we speak, and then I guess to your point, Jolene, is a matter of how do you make somebody feel appreciated or special? Yeah. For me, it happens unscripted and normally to a stranger. Yeah. Just living in Dubai, I mean, we tend to order things online all the time, right? And then you get surprised by this individual that delivers the actual package to your door.
Yeah.
And I've made it like a small little rule to myself, rules-based. But
so conventionally unconventional.
But also, I mean, that rule is driven by my principles.
Yeah.
So in that regard, I think a rule is actually okie dokie. So I would always actually look the person in the eye and truly thank them. Because I tend to understand where they come from and their personal circumstances, which it's for me very free will again, to appreciate this person. And that smile or that real sense of gratitude and authentic thank you, can make that person feel appreciated. Yeah. Although he or she is doing essentially a very tough job riding a bicycle, and that is more of an impact than me having to report a cash flow statement on time, right?
No, but it is.
But I mean, for me, that is the value of life.
No one is going to remember that statement. I can't even remember the term that you used, and that was like a second ago. Cash flow statements, or whatever. But that
God
guy,
bless you.
but that guy is going to
Yeah.
remember the kindness that you offered, because that's who you are as a person. And I've been very blessed and fortunate to get to know you, and I know the core of who you are, and what you stand for. And it's been phenomenal watching you go from Hoofsien, head boy, like living by
Thank
the
you.
rules, particularly in the workplace, but how you've also evolved and come into yourself in many, many ways, and how you've actually become your authentic
Yes.
self, which is inspirational to me and to others. Have you ever met anyone that you've looked up and be like, shoot, this person is like so authentic? It really just inspires me to live my best and true self.
I guess not in person. I mean, we all have the cliche of, and again, this is a big shout out to my parents, because I'm very blessed to have amazing parents. And
You do.
for sure. I mean, they also have their own stories, but essentially, wherever I go in the world, I always fall back to this main principle, right? To remember where you come from.
Yeah.
Okay, because where you come from,
Humble yourself.
absolutely. I mean, it's
Second.
always fantastic to actually, be in Dubai. Everything is so convenient.
Yeah.
And then when I was at home, I had just to queue. Going back to the roots, I think it's. I want to give a shout out to the parents, because
Yeah.
I know where I come from, and that nature and nurture kind of principle to me is the source and the center of my own rule-based show.
Yeah.
But have I met somebody or seen somebody that would influence the subject of being authentic? Perhaps not. I don't really look up to any of the celebs or great leaders, unfortunately, and that makes me a bit unconventional. I've had a bunch of CFOs that were my leaders, and they were great technically, but were they authentic? I'm sorry to say no, because they would run this model of being the perfect boardroom member,
Yeah.
and I never see myself as a C-suite FO even.
And that's changed, right?
Yes.
So, like, if you think when you started,
Yes.
you were like,
That is
CFO,
that is the
bring it
roadmap.
on.
Here we go,
That's
right?
the roadmap, because
Absolutely.
this is what everyone has said, and that's
Yeah.
uh,
And you, Jolene, also. I mean, let's focus about the new. I mean, your journey cross-functionally in the workplace. I mean, the things you've done personally and also in your career. I mean, it's almost like you've ticked all those boxes, but me and you both are against this term called tick boxing, right?
yeah,
We hate tick boxing.
yeah, we do.
Tick boxing hashtag. I mean, not kickboxing. Yeah.
Because I think in a way, career should fit into your life and not the other way around. Like, you should fit into the career. And, I've slowly learned that over time. And then as you evolve, you're kind of like, what is my purpose? Like, I need to do something that's purposeful, something that means something to me. So, I think there's a whole evolution of that. And I think, meeting people along the way, I've met that has chosen to live their life so authentically. It has been such an inspirational. And I think it's really like, okay, so do I necessarily agree? Maybe not. Maybe it's a little bit, but I'm like, I'm not in a position to judge anyone. And if I can live my life doing what I love, what I'm passionate about, where I can actually feel like I give purpose, then I feel like I've won a bit at life. Giving people a lot of love, kindness, helping people along the way, and just doing the things that are good for me.
It almost sounds like you're taking all those little good points of many role models in your life and making it your own unique role model, right?
Yeah.
So it's not aimed at one specific person or team or whatever.
No.
But you, again, have free will, and you handpick essentially those good things that fit to your DNA. And then you create your own best self, isn't it?
Like, where am I going to be in 5 years? Like,
gosh,
because choosing things for me, and I'm a firm believer in when people are not treating you the way that you should, or you feel like you don't have purpose in your job, or you feel like there's another calling for you. Like, let go of those. Protect your energy. I'm a very, very strong believer in if someone is not treating you well or whatever, stop putting your energy into it. I 100% know what I can bring to this world and into people's lives. And if someone is not appreciative of that, so it sounds all so crazy and all of these different things, but it's kind of like how we are then, defining how we want to live our lives going forward. Like, this is who we want to be. This is what we're going to tolerate. This is not what we're going to tolerate. This is my purpose. This is who I want to be. Like, when you are standing there at
Yes.
my eulogy, you are like, Jolene was like,
Yes.
like blah, 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 blah. And, I think, that's the important thing, is that we live the lives that we could.
Absolutely.
So I have another question, which is,
Okay, here comes a dart to my
hey,
dartboard.
Dart, are you ready? Are you ready? I think that, we've been through a lot. Like, we know each other's struggles, and we know all of that.
And successes.
No, of course, we know everything, right?
I mean, we are overachievers by all means. No, really, we are.
I mean, there's been the good, there's been the bad, and there's been this journey of where we have shifted from being conventional to unconventional. If I had to say, like, what advice would you have for people? Like, what is it that you could share with people to say, it's scary, I know, but do these things, it will help you?
For me, I think it's very short and sweet. And is to be authentically unconventional.
Yeah.
So it's a contrast, right? So to be unconventional is to not, follow the normal pathway, but to do it in your own unique way, because that's the way you've been built and designed. Yeah. That, I think, is where you find your purpose. And it's a journey. It's a marathon. Don't hope for that final destination
Charles
to be
a marathon
right
runner, by the way.
So my advice is essentially to be so unconventional, but you still remain true to yourself.
Yeah.
And it talks to my core of being a balanced individual. I haven't done accounting studies for nothing. It's a balance, a debit and a credit.
So what debit?
Yeah, exactly. But it's about moderation. It's about being balanced.
Yeah.
Risk, reward, fear and doubt, anger and sadness.
Go through it all.
Tears and mimosas, Yeah.
Sometimes they work hand in hand.
Exactly. So I hope that inspires people, or I hope somebody can understand that.
Yeah.
But that's really, I think, hopefully an answer to your question.
It is.
Do you have any advice on what it means to be a real maverick?
Well, I'm still on that journey to being a maverick. But I think, the thing for me is I have the softest heart. Like I said earlier, I will cry. But I think the one thing that I have maybe mastered over my lifetime is to be really strong and resilient. So you kind of need to work on that. And, the one thing which I am very blessed for, whether it came naturally or whether it's something that I've worked towards, is that I find I do not dwell on things. So if something has to happen, like say I'm in a car crash, for instance, I'm not going to sit for 2 days and be like, oh my God, like I was in a car crash. I kind of like, okay, car crash, this is what I need to do. And I move on, like it's part of life, because the mind is a very powerful thing. If you sit and you dwell and you think, you will land up in a very, very, very dark hole very quickly.
Yes.
So my advice is like, don't dwell on things the first time. We're going to make mistakes. You learn from your mistakes. Whatever experience have happened, accept it, acknowledge it, and then move on so that you can build that resilience. The other thing is that you are going to be faced in your life with many, many challenges around basically setting up your boundaries, right? Of what it is that I'm going to accept and what it is that I'm not going to accept. This has probably been one of the most difficult things for me, is like setting your boundaries, because there is always that element of fear, right? You're like,
true story.
If I do this, what is this going to mean? Am I like, am I going to lose this? Am I going to lose that? Or am I going to blah, blah, blah? Like, it's so fearful. But, there was a moment in time over my life where I was like, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. Like, this doesn't align with my values. This doesn't feel right to me. I don't feel like I'm being treated rightly, or whatever the case may be. And I took a stance. And to share something, I bought this ring probably last year, as a promise to myself that I will never, ever allow anyone to overstep my boundaries. I have had to make leaps and bounds and like push myself to take a stance and be like, I'm not accepting this anymore. It has been the scariest thing in my life.
I can imagine.
But can I tell you,
liberating stuff, Jodie.
when you make that decision, it is the most amazing feeling you will ever feel.
Because you own it. You
own it. And you're like, I am living my life the best way that I can. And nobody is actually going to tell me how I need to live my life. If I want to go and do something, I'm going to go and do it. I'm not going to be an asshole, right? I'm not going to wake up and do that. But I'm like, this is who I am. This is what I believe in. This is where I see myself. This is what I accept. This is what I don't accept. And if you can get to the point where you can do that, and trust me, the more you do it,
the better you get at it.
The better you become at it.
Absolutely.
It's like a muscle, like going to the gym.
Absolutely. It's so true. And I mean, ultimately, it's almost a definition of a great, awesome maverick, isn't it?
It is.
Where you know exactly what your boundary is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also not there, but I mean, ultimately, what are your boundaries? What do you tolerate?
Yeah.
What's right?
And who cares, right?
What's wrong?
Why do you care?
Exactly.
If they're gonna judge me for whatever.
Exactly. I mean, it's as simple as multicultural differences. I mean, in some cultures, it's right to have 10 kids.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Because they are not driven by money or by society.
Yeah.
They get their purpose and love through having a family, right?
Yeah.
And then here comes the world, puts into place rules and money, and they almost make it impossible to do what you want to do, you know, as a tribe, maybe in Africa or Indonesia, as an example.
Yeah.
So you have to depict your own boundaries, to your point.
Yeah.
And that is unique to your best self.
That is.
So, yeah, for me, stop following the norm. It's absolutely...
it's okay.
Form your own pattern, right? Within your own boundaries, essentially. Which is formed and driven by your emotion, your nurture, and the real unique self.
Yeah. And you know what? It's okay. And it's going to be okay.
Absolutely. It's always safe.
See.
You'll always be safe, right?
You'll always be safe.
So where did you buy the ring?
It's a personal promise and commitment that I made to myself. And whenever I find myself in that moment where I'm like, something is not sitting well with me, and do I speak up? Do I say something or do I not? It's a reminder for me that I need to do that.
So then what I've said earlier about if something is not sitting well with me, do you also have a sense that your body is reacting a certain way? Do you feel it in your stomach or
a warm... Of course you know it.
Yeah.
Like in any situation. If you're in a relationship where there's a significant amount of red flags, you know, women are like, is it a light shade of red or is it like a dark shade? Like, you know, right?
Yes.
If someone is not treating you well, you know. If you are doing something or you are engaging with someone in some sort of a business deal or doing whatever, and something doesn't feel right, or your parents are pushing you to have kids, you know, like, this is not me. I don't want kids. I don't want to be in this situation. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. You know, your gut, it's your intuition. Listen to that intuition. It will tell you. And if it doesn't align with your values and who you are and where you want to be in life, don't do it. I'll tell you, for example. So growing up, need to get married and have kids. We are a very small family, so I was never ever exposed to, having a lot of kids and all of that stuff. And there was one point in time I was like, oh man, I want kids. Like, I really want kids. Like, without actually seeing what actually goes into it. And then friends started having kids, and then I was like, oh no, like this, this doesn't fit well with me, and blah blah blah. And eventually, I was like, actually, I don't want kids. Okay, I can't have kids because I had heart surgery and whatever. Of course, maybe it's like God's divine intervention. But I was like, I was still pressured. Like, I can have kids through surrogacy. And my mom was like, Jolene, you don't know what you're missing out on. And I was like, but like, in me, I don't feel like I want kids. Like, I have the most beautiful, the best niece in the whole world. And I love her more than anything. For me to have my own kids, that's not in my cards and it's not in my future. And, I know some people might find it difficult to believe because I know people are struggling and everyone is on their own journey.
100%.
But it's a typical example of, like, if I had to follow what society had dictated and I had kids, I would have not been happy because it wouldn't have fitted in with who I am.
Exactly. And it would have changed your entire life scenario and your
Yeah.
picture. And
And it's a very controversial topic.
absolutely.
I know.
We all love kids, and it's part of
Yeah.
being human.
It is.
It's very sensitive and it's delicate, and there's no other love but compared to a parent-child love. I mean, so
exactly.
I get that absolutely, and there should be more of me and you in the world, obviously, but it's just not on cards, right?
No.
So that's actually, thank you for sharing. That's very
You're most welcome.
no, wait, but that's part of being the conventional pathway.
Yeah.
Again, we don't want to kind of say that being a natural human should be not conventional.
Yeah.
If that's in your cards and you bless to be able to get married at 25 and have your best life and be a mom or a parent at 31 and attend your child's high school graduation at 48 and then have enough money to have a wine farm, that is perfect. I mean, that really is perfect, right?
I mean, I can conform to that.
Me too,
The
but
wine farm.
I'll get there before 48. I mean, challenge accepted. So I mean, that is brilliant. I mean, and you can just see on a grandparent's face when their grandkids walk in a room. I mean, for them it means a lot. So
It does.
it's also something very dear, and it's part of human life.
It is.
So we're not here to say it's incorrect.
Yeah. It's just personal preference.
Absolutely. And then also, like I said, health sometimes also plays a role, social factors as well.
Okay, so Charles, what are your final parting words of wisdom to anyone that is listening?
It's something that this week I had an aha moment, and I came upon this famous words, and it's just as, do not conform to the pattern of this world. Please don't, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And you own your own mind, right? So free will comes from within. So just don't conform.
So UAE.
It is very UAE, yeah. So I feel for me that is it was an affirmation of something I felt for many decades in my life, and I was like, okay, this will now be my ring. Damn, I'm also going to buy a ring after this show.
I'll take you to Daniel Wellington. We can go together. I'll buy a ring for something else. No need.
Please also, I mean, from your side, I mean, we would love to hear your final, conclusion of our.
You know, Charles, this is the one thing that I love about the two of us is because we are so different. We get on so well, phenomenally well, yet we are so different. What you have just shared with us is so wise and it's profound and it's and I'm going to share something that is just
no, but I mean,
it is what it is. But, the one person that, because this has probably been the biggest challenge for me is that I've lived a very conventional life because I've cared way too much about what people would think about me, right? And my journey is moving away from that. So, if you ever are on Instagram,
yes,
there is a guy who is interviewing Mike Tyson. He says to Mike Tyson, "What do you wish people understood about you a bit more?" Mike Tyson responded, "Nothing."
I love it.
This guy was like, "Nothing?" So Mike Tyson turned around and he was like, "No." It's like, F you. This is the person that I want to aspire to. That's really extreme. It's
yes, it is.
It is. Side. But it's I want to be me, and I don't want to care what people would think about me in any stage or any event. Yes, I'm not going to wake up and, be an idiot. And of course, I'm going to learn about certain things about myself. And, if something, if there's feedback and people, it resonates and be like, okay, maybe I could have handled that a little bit better, or I could have done, I will do that.
Yes, yes.
I'm not going to care about what people think about me. I shouldn't. It's going to take a journey. But Mike Tyson, that is the guy that I aspire to be. So in 20 years' time, I want you to ask me on a podcast that question. What do you wish people understood about you a bit more?
Done.
Because I'm going to say, nothing.
Nothing.
And then I'm going to say the F-bomb, you.
You
So,
go ahead. I mean, it makes perfect sense. There's no
Yeah.
real science. It's not an exact theory, whatever.
No,
So
we're living our best
you're saying
life.
basically, I mean, people shouldn't understand us.
No, I'm not saying that. Like, people, you should be you. It doesn't matter what
Yes,
anybody thinks.
yes.
And this is why we're here today, because if you choose to live a very unconventional life, people are going to talk a lot and they are going to think a lot because it goes against so many societal norms and
Yes.
against whatever. If you let that noise come into your life and affect you, you are not going to be living your best life. And for me, when I leave this earth, I want to know that I have lived the best authentic life that I could have lived. You need to get rid of that outside noise. That's it.
Agree. So it's almost like make your own noise.
Exactly.
I love that. It was such a great pleasure to spend this
been-
40 minutes with you.
And have this experience with you. I wouldn't have wanted to do this with anybody else. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad we spoke about it one day and now it's become a reality and hopefully we can do many more.